Hello, welcome to True Hoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Jarod, that is not a complicated question to answer today. Let me paint you a scenario. All right. I am 58. I have lived with someone my entire life. I've always had a roommate, and then I got married from having my roommate, Bird, my buddy Bird. I'm almost never alone ever.
You were alone watching basketball last night.
Not yet. Tonight.
Oh.
So for many years, I've been watching the NCAA tournament. Right when I was in high school, which is before you were born, probably in 1980, I was
born. No, I was born. I was 2.
Right in 1980, I was coming home from high school at 11:30 in the morning because we had double session.
Yep.
So for 2 days during that time, I'd be by noon. I'd have my 6 hot dogs, whatever I ate. I ate a lot because we burned a lot of calories in practice. I would sit in front of our TV at home watching first round of 12. I watched Danny Ainge at BYU score in the last seconds. U.S. Reed for Arkansas against Louisville, which was my pick to win it that year. And all through college, of course, it was a big deal. It's not the same to me now.
Right.
But for about almost 48 hours, it's just me. I told my wife, get rid of the dog. She's up bringing, we got my son a car.
Get rid of the dog.
I did.
Clarify that. You don't mean get rid of the dog.
No. He's in a hotel.
Okay.
He's in his doggy hotel. I don't want to. I all of my life I've had to take care of someone else, oldest brother, husband, father. Like I just want to be able to watch my games, and I'm not even going to watch much of the NCAA tournament. I will a little bit. I've got a lot of calls today and work today, but the idea that I can, and I got to fucking walk anyone, feed anyone. I've got leftovers. I'm not going to leave this fucking place for 2 days. My wife gets back late tomorrow night with her sister and some friends, and then it's going to be a wild weekend, but. I got 2 days almost of just college and NBA basketball. I'm very happy.
I love it. You know, it's funny high school was similar for me. I wouldn't go home, but I was very involved in our school's television station. So I would go to the studio and be like, all right, I got double lunch. Guess what I'm doing? I'm watching hoops, right?
Yeah.
And in college, you'd work your schedule around that. As you get an adult and you work, you're like, what meetings can I schedule out of the office on Thursday and Friday so that I can go pull up at a bar somewhere and watch a game or two. Just like you, though, college has become something I don't follow anymore. And for a variety of reasons, right? Like most of the talented players aren't there long or there at all. Number one. Number two, I have fundamental issues with the NCAA, which if you know anything about my politics, you'll understand why I don't like NCAA basketball. So anyway, be that as it may, NCAA is coming out. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show.
Yeah.
David, we're often right at TrueHoop about a lot of things. And, I don't like to pat ourselves on the back, but you said, guys, parity this season. This is preseason, well before the season even began. You looked at the rosters on teams and you were like, no juggernaut. Although you did say Clippers, Bucks to go to the championship. So, you look like you're right, at least with one team. And Clippers, I'll talk about them in a minute, looking pretty good too. But you're like, no one is like miles and miles ahead of anybody else.
Right.
And I said a couple weeks ago, guys, these last 15 games or so, buckle up. And this is what we got. I mean, it is exciting times right now.
Yeah.
And the Sacramento Kings, who it's clear now, they're going to make the playoffs. First time in 16 years, led by head coach Mike Brown, who's doing an amazing job there.
Yeah.
Number 1 or number 2 offense.
He's my coach of the year now.
Yeah, I think
he's
so.
overtaken Bickerstaff.
Yeah, he has. He's been excellent. Domantas Sabonis has been excellent, but you know who's been great too? De'Aaron Fox. And you do a thing where you talk about there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And I'm like, I'm not sure Fox is all the way there yet, but man, he's excellent. Had a game winner last night. He's in the 94th percentile in offensive EBM.
Yeah.
He's electric, coach, and the confidence is there. He's shooting 58% on twos. 58%.
He's unbelievable at the rim, over 70% of the rim.
He's so good, and he is and you can see it. The confidence is there. You know, when guys, every guy thinks they belong in the NBA, but when he plays and you see he's like, not only do I belong here, like I'm one of the best players here. Like he knows it now, and you can see it when he plays, and it's incredible to watch. I'm enjoying watching the Kings as a whole and this transformation of Fox.
So you're always very sweet about saying smart things that I say, but the truth is I'm wrong all the time. Sometimes really wrong, sometimes a little bit wrong. it's hard to see the future, right?
Right.
Because there's a lot of variables. Can't factor all of it in, injuries and whatever. This is how stupid I was preseason. I predict everyone's record.
Wins and losses, yep.
And this year, when I don't do it, I do it based on a lot of things. I look at the schedule, whatever. And then I add up the total. And I think the total is supposed to be 1,230 wins.
You were off by 10.
I think I was off by 10. Do you remember the team I gave 8 wins to?
Sacramento.
Yeah, but in my so-called genius mind, I only got them to 41 and 41. I initially had them only winning 33. And just, I've never done this before, Jarod. I've never given a team 8 wins.
Right.
Normally I sprinkle a win. Initially, I think I probably gave like Dallas a few more, whatever. And then I just thought, boy, I think I'm way off in Sacramento. So instead of counting it all over again, I just gave them 8 wins. How many wins do they have now?
Oh my God, they're well over 40 wins now.
Yeah.
They're
going to get 50 wins.
41 and 27. They're going to win 50 games for the first time in Lord knows how long. Probably 16 years when they went to the playoffs.
Yeah, probably since like maybe 03, 04. Yeah, that might have been their last 51 season. So I'm glad that I gave them 8 wins. I look really, really stupid. I only had them at 33. There's so many lessons here. I almost don't even know where to begin. But we can start with Fox. Mm-hmm. So when I talk to players about guarding Fox, he's one of the rare guys I have to tell them, you can't give him first box shots, and you can't give him second box shots. You have to hope he'll settle outside the box and from 3, although he's shooting better from 3 lately. He's still not a good 3-point shooter, but lately he's better, 35%, maybe last 10 games or so. But he's one of the top finishers in the league and maybe the best guard finisher in the league.
Ooh, that's saying a lot.
He's 70-something. Yeah, Kyrie's right there, obviously, every year.
Steph Curry finishes well at the rim, too.
Yeah, I think Fox is 70, let's just say 71% at the rim. Dunks and threes has. Yep. I use Basketball Reference, but dunks and threes.
He is 75.6% at the rim.
Yeah, so I think Basketball Reference is 0 to 3 feet. Okay. So maybe at 3 feet it'll be a little bit less. But he's he's still really good in the second box too. And like a year ago, LaMelo Ball was 52% at the rim. He's not much higher probably this last year, although he didn't play a lot. That's incredible for a guy that quick, like unguardable. You cannot let him get through. He's making 3-4, not including the times he gets fouled.
Right.
That doesn't show up. Mm-hmm. So he's probably scoring 80-something%, maybe even higher, getting to the rim at least 1 point. And so the great story about that, Jarod, is, like you said, he was getting killed last year. Like
killed. You
mentioned something Amin said about him.
Yeah, like the comparison, right? They're like Kings fans are like they think De'Aaron Fox is who Ja Morant already is, right? That was the conversation.
Yeah, that was a stupid thing to say. At the time, I understood what he was saying. People who I've coached that played with De'Aaron thought he was amazingly talented if he could ever just get out of his own way. Huge ego. This is what they were saying. I've never met him. Huge ego, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Everyone's allowed to grow up. Mm-hmm. And humility smacks all of us in the face.
Sure does.
And for me, I can only speak for myself. When I've been humbled, I've embraced it. Like, I need to be better. I need to be smarter, whatever. I've been humbled in so many different ways I can't keep track of them all. Professionally, personally, whatever. De'Aaron Fox has answered that call really, really well. And he's playing with joy. And I give Mike Brown huge credit.
Yeah.
And I also think it's smart to branding coaches as defensive-minded, offensive innovator. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe, but they're allowed to get better too. Mm-hmm. And so who would have thought Mike Brown would lead this offensive charge? And he has.
Here's the thing, David. You can't spend, I don't know how many seasons it was, 5 or 6 in Golden State and not think he's not going to take something he learned there and apply it to what he's right.
Well, hold on. I want to stop you right there, and you're going to like this. Yes, you can if the guy was arrogant.
Okay, fair.
People who I know and really trust, including men that I've coached who work with Mike, would never say he was arrogant. Curious. This is Ted Lasso Day yesterday. I didn't watch it yet. Always be curious, right? Mike Brown, the people who I know well, love his curiosity, his willingness to listen and learn. That's not something you always find in the NBA, Jarod.
Oh, for sure.
So I love Mike Brown for that. And what's happened? He went from being considered a defensive-minded guy to they're the best offense in basketball. Maybe the best. I haven't looked. Do they have the best offensive rating of all time right now?
It's high up there. I don't know if it's best of all time, but it's high. I mean, they're 119.1 on adjusted
That
offensive
sounds
rating.
like best of all time.
It's incredible. And they play with the number one team in pace, I think, in the league too.
Oh, they've been playing super fast all season.
I mean, they're
super fast. I give Mike so much credit for that too, because Sabonis is slow. Yes. I promise you, the majority of NBA coaches would want to slow things down and let's get Domantas involved in the half court.
Yeah.
And now Mike Brown has not done that, and they're the best offense. I mean, again, I think metrics would say, I don't remember anyone having higher than 119. Didn't Brooklyn have the highest?
Oh yeah, they were. I mean,
but were they 118? We have to look it up.
I gotta look it up to see what they were. I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, because
so that was what 2021 would have been that offense.
Yeah, that Mike Brown.
117.9. Yeah. That was Brooklyn that year.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I'm so for the coaching profession. I'm so happy for what Mike's done, and they can only get better defensively. They cannot be as good offensively.
Right.
Malik Monk's a great story. Not having an amazing season, but he's a positive player for their offense, especially.
Kevin Huerter.
And but Monk 2 years ago was garbage in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Same person. He didn't suddenly find Jesus, so to speak. he probably worked on his game, but he's in a better system.
Yeah.
With good talent around him or whatever. And it's a lot to be said. You can. It's what do they say? It's one person's trash, another person's treasure.
Yep.
Well, that's the NBA for sure.
Yeah.
Not that Malik was trash, but it's unfair to say that. But he wasn't considered a good player. The Lakers didn't want to keep him. They could have, I would think. They could have used him, I would guess. He was good for them last year. Everyone thought that. He probably got paid more in Sacramento, but they need to find a way to keep him. The Kings deserve a lot of credit. Mike Brown deserves a ton of credit.
And it also taps into something that you said, right? Which is, you say all the time, of course players matter, but this is a coach's league too, right? Like let's say a more dogmatic coach took over the Kings. Would De'Aaron have blossomed the way he is now? Maybe not.
Well, I would argue almost definitely not. I don't think it's so easy. And so what makes a great coach is this, right? When you have that kind of transformation where is he up for most improved player? I don't know that people are naming him, but he should be.
I don't think he is.
I don't think anyone has. I listened to a podcast, Zach Lowe's podcast yesterday. I didn't listen to part of it, but I don't remember anyone talking about De'Aaron Fox. He's by far the best player on a team that could win the West.
So, you know what? It's funny you mentioned most improved. Here's what I could see happening. He's not going to win this award, I'm going to say.
Definitely not.
But I could see him getting MVP votes. I could see
it's an amazing point.
I could see
he's the best player on a stunningly good team that could win the West.
Again, I'm not saying he's winning. I'm not even saying he's going to finish top 5. But
yeah, when you vote, Jarod, is it a 10-person list or 5?
I think it's 5. So they go top 5.
So we know 3.
He's going to get some fifth place votes.
I agree with you. He's going to get some 4s and 5s.
For sure.
He'll get 1, 2, 3.
Because here's the thing. Tatum and Luka have fallen off a lot, right? Yeah. Because their teams have started to struggle.
Yeah.
So, especially in the case of Dallas, they're really struggling.
Yeah.
But why not? And
I completely think you're right that he'll get some votes at the 4 or 5 spot.
And Memphis, John Morant's not going to get votes for Memphis because of what's going on with him, and we'll talk about him later. Yeah. So why not? Yeah, look, again, I'm not out here trying to tell you that De'Aaron Fox is the best guard in basketball.
No, he's really good, though. Don't qualify, Jarod. You're right on it, man.
Very good.
I'm behind you 100%. And you didn't even mention his clutch performances.
Oh, number one in the NBA in clutch scoring.
That goes to that MVP voting.
Yes.
That's going to be the Kings going to trumpet that out for sure.
For sure.
He's always been. I loved him. I'm sure it's on TrueHoop. He's not that old. Maybe he's old enough 20, where we didn't have. Yeah, he's 25 exactly. Yeah. Maybe. But he came out after a couple years of Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if TrueHoop was out yet when he first was a rookie, but I loved him just because he was so athletic.
Yeah.
He was like Russell Westbrook athletic. Not that level, but that was the category he was in. The uber athletic, the John Walls, Derrick Rose, like those guys that are so fucking fast and athletic. I remember watching the tournament being blown away with that sheer speed and quickness. And then they drafted They drafted Halliburton. Then they drafted Mitchell.
Yeah.
And yet and so that has not gone well. The Kings did not handle this well.
Right.
I'm not suggesting they should have kept Halliburton. There's an argument for it. There's an argument he's better than Fox. The Mitchell draft, and we'll talk about the draft later, that's not worked out well at all.
No.
But yet, nonetheless, Fox has transformed into the player they hoped he would be. Simple as that. The player they hoped he would be.
Maybe he will probably make an All-NBA team, or is going to be right there, right? For the third team.
Guards. If he's getting votes for MVP,
he's going to be.
Is there 6 guards better than him this year?
I don't think so. I mean, it's it's always tough to do it off the top of your head. I don't think so. Especially again, given the team wins, and he's going to be in the mix for sure. For sure.
Damian's going to be in there too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Steph's going to be there with 50 last night.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, we're not going to back off. This guy is really taking a step up, and it's exciting to think about going forward.
Yes, for the future of the Kings. So congrats, Kings fans. You got some good things happening coming your way.
I'm happy for you. Have you been to Sacramento?
I have not gone to a game in Sacramento yet.
I've gone to a ton.
Okay.
Fantastic. Before the new arena. It was fantastic. Fans were amazing. I love this. I love the city. I went there 20 times.
And I used to
really
live in the Bay in San Francisco. Yeah. I never went up there. That's, I got the Warriors are right there. What am I going to go to Sacramento for? So we mentioned MVP. Let's talk about this. You said, guys, we're handing out awards when there's games left to be played, right? And something interesting is happening, David. Nuggets are struggling. Losers of 4 straight, I want to say.
4 straight, for sure.
76ers, on the other hand, winners of 6 straight. Their records are virtually identical. Sixers
one loss difference between.
Yeah, they got 1 loss difference.
Yeah.
And the once over 1 point per 100 possessions lead that Jokic had over Embiid in estimated plus minus is down below a point now. It is, let me pull it up right here. Yeah, it is 0.7 of a point separate them now in overall estimated plus minus. And of course, Jokic is averaging a triple-double, but Embiid leading the league in scoring, averaging 33 and change. I mean, he is ridiculous.
They're both just incredible players.
Has the gap in your mind, because for 2 weeks ago, it was wide, but narrowed now.
Yeah, so I have no vote, neither do you, but it's something we talk about sometimes. It's not called most outstanding player. I think it should be. So value to me does suggest we have to look at wins and losses in the overall season. My attitude is I'm happy for a different person to win it every year, but you can't just give it to somebody. So to me, 2 weeks ago, Jokic was the clear-cut favorite and deserved it. But as that gap narrows and the teams are basically identical, I don't care who's got the higher seed. That's not fair. The East is way better than the West.
Right.
If it stays close like this, I would give it to Embiid for sure. If Jokic, if Denver goes on a 10-game winning streak and Philly goes 6-4, and we start seeing that lead balloon again, I would give it to Jokic. But we don't give the award till the season's over. Yeah. And Embiid is right there. I don't see Giannis being there, although Milwaukee is the best team in the league right now.
Milwaukee is the best team in the league. I agree. I think it's Giannis is missing games, and then again, it's also the impact on the floor. Right, is not quite metrically the same as the other two guys. So.
Yeah. But to your point, what Embiid's doing right now, leading the league in scoring is incredible.
And defensively,
you're right, and he's got the impact he's making on that team. Harden's a very good player. Maxey's a good player. Tobias is a good player. They're very deep. But Embiid is every bit the superstar that Jokic is. Denver would be nothing without Jokic. Philly would be nothing without Embiid. He is the star. I remember writing this, one of the first articles I ever wrote about Chris Paul. I wrote, I was doing I made a comment on every game in the league opening weekend. And I wrote, if Chris Paul's the straw that stirs the drink, David West is the drink. Or it might be the other way around. Well, Embiid and Jokic are the drink.
Yeah.
They're everything, right? So I would have if the season ended today, Like, I don't know what I would be almost a coin flip to me.
Yeah, no,
it really would be close.
I'm with you. I mean, yeah, and I think I'd lean slightly Embiid.
I think I would too, because Jokic hasn't done enough
Right.
to get 3 straight, because
Correct.
I do think historical perspective matters.
Of course.
I wouldn't be afraid to give it to Jokic if he was that deserving.
Mm-hmm.
Not so deserving now. It's
Right.
tight. Let's see what happens.
The other thing, too, that's interesting about this, and I know for you, as someone who of course, you watch the games, you look at the metrics and everything, you break it all down in terms of players' value. There's something that I think for fans, when they watch both of these players, aesthetically, there's something about Embiid's game that makes fans feel a certain type of way about him. And there's a way in which physically he overwhelms you when he plays, right? And there's a way that Jokic is physically overwhelmed, but not in that same way, right? Embiid is just like a monster mountain person that almost like, think about like a boxer, right? Like Floyd Mayweather is amazing, but it's not because of his punching power, right? Though he can hit you. His defense is world class, right? You can't hit him, right? But when you're watching boxing, some people might be like, it doesn't really, they want to see somebody get knocked out.
They don't appreciate the science as much. They look at the car crashes.
Embiid is a car crash. He knocks you out, and you're like, oh, and you feel that. And I think that for a lot of fans like matters when they look at both these players.
Yeah, I could do a million different analogies. When you think about car racing, it's unbelievably scientific. It's all metrics and math, right?
Yeah, draft,
and yet
drag and wind force and all that.
And fans probably just want car accidents, right? I don't know. I don't watch it. But, I think that I think you're right. I don't really care what fans think as it relates to it, as you know. Not that I disrespect it. It just doesn't matter to me because everyone has their own opinion. I can't take my eyes off either guy when I watch them. I routinely sit at this desk, and the computer I'm looking at right now is my widescreen monitor, and I routinely watch Embiid and Jokic clips as I'm studying on Synergy and thinking, oh my God, he's fucking incredible. Like that's just such a common. If there was a tape record playing on Otter,
that's what
you would hear lots of fucking incredible, unbelievable. Like both of them are just so incredibly talented. Yeah. And the mistake people may make about Embiid is they only see the physical dimension you're talking about. Mm-hmm. The reality is he's a scientist too. Correct. He's an artist and a scientist every bit the way Jokic is. He's just built differently. His disposition to dominate's amazing, but unbelievably skilled, incredible footwork, incredible timing, incredible feel, all of it. He's got all of it. If it turns out he doesn't win the MVP this year, and because Jokic just outplays him in these last 12 games, whatever it is, 14 games, it's going to be sad.
Yeah,
because we should. But he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Oh. I'd like him to get some rings
for sure.
He shouldn't let it ruin his career.
Well, this is my plug for we need more awards. MVP is fine, and then do a most outstanding or an offensive player of the year. We do an offensive player of the year in every other sport. Why not do an MVP and do someone who's
so who would get the best offensive player?
So if we're doing an offensive player of the year award, it might go to Jokic,
and then give Embiid the MVP.
Yeah,
I like that idea a lot.
And some years, it might be both guys. The same guy may get both awards some years. That just might be how it works.
I really like the idea very much. We have a best defensive player.
Sure.
Why not have a best offensive player?
Why not? Let's just do it.
It's a no-brainer.
You mentioned how skilled Embiid is. I know you didn't see this game last night, but the Cavs-Sixers game, late, the shot clock was winding down, 4 seconds left. Embiid's got the ball. He's like, oh, crap, I got to get a shot up. Step back.
Does it all the time. I was like, what? He does it all the time. He does those kind of things.
Stupid. Nikola, obviously, he made it. I was like, this is so dumb.
I like to say that with some big men, they didn't make the league as a guard. And it's impossible to really say. But he's got that kind of skill in game where he could, he could be a 6'4" guy, so he'll probably figure it out. He's just super skilled.
Yeah, no.
Super talented in every way. And I like that he's ambitious. Mm-hmm. I like that he's hungry. He wants to win more games and win the MVP. And great. And I picked them to win the regular season.
Sure did.
I picked the Bucks to win the Eastern Conference playoffs, which in October, who freaking knew? But I thought Philly would have the best regular season record. I'm not off by that much. They're not going to get there, but it's close.
It is close. And, that leads us into our discussion right now. You noted the top 3 teams record-wise so far in 2023. So not the season, but this calendar year. Bucks are 27-7. They look like the best team in the league right now.
Yeah.
Sixers are 25-8. Nuggets are 23-11. And the top 5 teams in net rating this calendar year, so not for the season, Cavs, who, as you know, I'm a Cavs guy with their net rating. Bucks, Thunder, which you've said
unbelievable.
The Thunder are playing well, and next year, look out. Nuggets, Sixers, and of course, we just talked about them, the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, that's top 6, right, for net rating. Yeah, these are the best teams. Celtics are right below both. They're number 4, I think, in overall record in 2023, and number 7 in net rating, if I bless you, if I remember right. These are the best teams right now, and I think that matters going into the postseason, how teams are playing. Of course, matchups matter a lot too, but they don't matter if you're not playing well.
Right.
It helps to have a swagger about you, a confidence in you, because if you're not playing well and you like this matchup and then you lose in game 1, well, that only just drags you down even more. And confidence and psyche, all that matters. Coaches that's their job, is to find a way. Steve Kerr going into game 4 in Boston last year, his guys believed. It helped to have Steph Curry. It really helped to have Steph Curry.
Always does.
Because of the way he played, but it also just knowing they had that belief. All that stuff matters. So, yeah, we're tracking that pretty closely now.
It's funny. You started talking about, we opened up the show and you mentioned the NCAA tournament, and now you mentioned teams playing well right now, and this idea of like peaking at the right time. And one of the great coaches who, taking my vernacular from swimming, it's like, who hits the taper right? Who kind of gets their team peaked at the right moment. And Tom Izzo of Michigan State was always someone that my coaching buddies would say, and he hits the taper right just about every year, right? You're like, oh, what's this team doing in January and February? I'm like, don't matter what they're doing in January and February. Watch come conference tournament time and watch come April. They're going to be, they just kind of hit their peak right. So for NBA, season ends like April 9th. When do you think now you want to start to play your best basketball, or another week or so do you want to start peaking?
So I don't think it's like swimming. I understand your narrative very well, and you understand tapering much better than I do. I never coached those sports. I think you're going to understand what I mean by this, because I know how you feel. I think all that is washed up now. I'm sorry, for the NBA, not for college.
Yeah.
Because they're just also exhausted.
Everyone,
Yeah. So I think it helps to surge through early on in the postseason. And then it's just survival of the fittest at that point. Who's injured, who played in the Olympics last summer with Jason Tatum. I really do. I think that I do like looking at individuals, but even in the playoffs, guys go so up and down. I used to track it for years, ESPN. I think to get through round 1 in this parity-filled league, it helps to be surging right now. And it's not just collectively, but individually. For example, the day that I said on the show, I think I'm off Milwaukee because Chris Middleton wasn't back yet.
Yep.
He's got to he came back that day, and he's starting to really come. He's starting to shoot better, and look at Milwaukee now. They're back where I thought they could be. You wait too long, and they don't have enough time to get it.
Yeah.
So, I think now's the time you want to be playing your best basketball that last month of the season, except for maybe the last couple games where you rest before the postseason. Yeah. You want to reach that level of, hey, we can match that enough times and we can win 16 games.
So with that parity you talked about, there probably won't be a lot of sweeps in that first round. Right?
I don't think so. Yeah.
But
I hadn't thought about that.
Maybe Milwaukee, because I do think
let's say
Atlanta's 8 right now, but we have to play in. So let's say
who are those 4 teams?
Right now, those 4 teams are Heat, Hawks, Raptors, Wizards.
Yeah, that's 5 at most.
So that might be an advantage for them, right? If they can get through that in 5 and they get to rest an extra 4 days and someone's getting the hell beat out of them, or some team got hot and now they got to go to 6 or 7 unnecessarily, right? That's that extra, bank you need for round 3 and 4 when you're like, when we got to rest that extra week, that's going to matter for us now come, June when we're in the finals. It's interesting to see who's going to have that advantage.
I mean, if Boston beats Miami 1 game earlier, remember Jimmy Butler missed that last second 3 in game 7. Maybe Jason Tatum still has enough energy to help win game 4. Now it's 3-1.
Right.
Doesn't mean
correct
Warriors can't come back. Just
we've seen it happen.
Right. Just way less likely, right? Yeah, one time it happened in the NBA Finals. So, I think you're making a great point. Milwaukee, And the number 2 seed also.
Yes,
because those teams, those teams mentioned, someone's going to be 7, someone's going to be an 8. Neither are going to probably take more than 1 win. Obviously, we have no idea who's going to be healthy.
Right.
But if the season ended today, let's say Philly. Who's the 2 seed right now? Is it Boston still by half game?
It is Boston by a game over Philly right now, 1 game.
And so who's the 6th seed in the East? Because I haven't looked.
Is Brooklyn.
So all right, I think that team can win a couple at least.
Yeah.
So it's a fight, which is great. These teams can't rest in the regular season because they don't want to be that 3rd seed in the East.
Yeah.
You don't want to play Brooklyn. You want to play with one of those other teams, in my opinion.
Oh, wow.
100%. Miami. You don't want to play Miami, but you'd rather play Miami than Brooklyn, and you'd rather play those other teams than Miami. You're hoping Miami loses just because it's Miami. It's Spoelstra and Jim Butler is amazing.
I mean, he during the regular season you might think, oh, he's a top 25 player, but come postseason, you're like, Jimmy's one of the 5 best players in the NBA.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's just that he just has this knack of turning it on for those 16 games.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, so just to wrap up our Bucks point, like you and I see them as right now, they are looking like, the best team in the league. They look like they're poised for a title run. Look, Giannis, Chris, and Drew, that's just tough.
And Brooke. I
was going to say, someone we're not, we are. Brooke Lopez, talk about how your game has evolved since you got into the league. This guy used to be a 20-something point per game scorer. Well, he's something different now, right?
And a defensive liability, people thought, because he didn't move great.
Now he is a mountain of a man that you can't get around.
He lives at the rim. And I watched tape today on Suns. So I watched Suns-Bucks tape on Chris Paul pick and rolls in the last game. He scored 11 points on 11 shots, most of them on snake dribble, side pick and roll a couple of times. He made a nice little baseline jumper, but always floaters. No way you're going to the rim because Brooke is right there waiting.
Too big.
Really deep. And so the challenge will be against some of these teams like Boston, and like James Harden, maybe I got to move up. And so now we'll see how Brooke does guarding at 8 feet and not 8 inches, but he can do it.
Yeah.
And so, but that'll be where the game is. That's where you've got to make those shots against him. But yeah, I think they've got depth with Bobby Portis as a backup. I think Milwaukee, we'll see, but right now they're my favorite team.
And they've been through the fire. They've already won a title. They've already had the pain of losing, and so that nothing's going to phase them. And Drew Holiday, we love Drew Holiday here. Maybe the best on-ball guard defender in the league.
I think he is.
The way he just knows, and we'll talk about this story you mentioned on Monday or last week on the show when we talk about the Warriors. He just obviously studies film because he knows moves and he's able to just get his hand in there and poke it away at just the right time and not foul, right? Defending without fouling. Like, I know coaches scream about that. Can you guard without fouling?
It's really hard. Well, it's really hard. He has a good reputation. That helps. And then, I almost feel like Giannis is the quiet killer.
He's kind of like
because
waiting the weeds.
He isn't getting the love. Yeah. People are, listen, Milwaukee fans love him, but
of course. And his counting stats are great this season. He's, just doing his usual thing.
Yeah. He's going to be a wrecking ball in the postseason for sure. Yeah.
And one of his superpowers is his relentlessness. He just keeps coming at you. And if refs aren't going to call him for offensive fouls and let him initiate, good luck.
Then you're really screwed.
Because you ain't stopping that dude.
You need some charges.
Yeah, because it's over. All right, guys, we'll be back after a short commercial break. All right, David, I was watching Warriors-Clippers last night, and I thought of you. You often come into my mind when I'm watching basketball games, things that you say.
I am so honored with that. I mean that sincerely. It means you're listening to the stupid things I say.
And so I remember the story you told about a young man who you were working out and who he was just having a tough time during his workout. This is pre-draft. He was missing shots and he was getting upset with himself. And you said, listen, man, if you can't handle missing shots, this ain't the league for you because you're going to miss shots, right?
Yeah.
Same thing on defense. You have to have a short memory. If guys scoring on you, you got to forget about it.
Yeah.
Well, David, let me tell you right now, I would not make it in the NBA because I'm watching Stephen Curry last night and I'm like, what else can you do? Can you play any better defense than that? No, and he's still scoring anyway. That's it. I can't. Because it's bothering me every time.
Yeah. I remember, so, I know that I wrote a book that was based on Harvey Penick's book called The Little Red Book, his first book. He wrote 5. And in one of his books, he tells a story about a guy wanting to play and I don't remember anymore. It was the senior tour, but it might have been the PGA Tour because it was a long time ago. Oh, it was definitely PGA Tour, and Harvey Pennick's son was telling him like no, and the guy was kind of confused, and he's like, "Well, see that guy right there? That's Tom Kite because he was training with his dad. Mm-hmm. There's Ben Crenshaw, two of the best players in the world, training also with his dad. Like those guys are on the PGA Tour." And I really got upset when I read that. I'm like, well, so what? There's like 100 guys that play the PGA Tour. So you can't beat those guys? It means you shouldn't even try? I didn't like that. And so I feel the same way here. Like you're not going to be Steph Curry. Just accept it. You can fight like crazy if you want, but don't let each up. You're not going to be MJ either, or Magic, or Bird. Those guys are the legends of the legends of the legends. But you better be able to handle getting scorched by Steph Curry. And just focus on your process. That's what we teach. Did you, as I say, I have played, I won't go into the details of it, but I once played like almost 2 hours straight of blackjack from like midnight to 2 a.m. in Vegas the night we arrived after a long dinner, which meant like that's 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. or whatever, Florida time, with my 2 brothers and 2 friends. And the dealer didn't get blackjack a single time. We made many thousands. I have very expensive furniture in my house. I'm not kidding that I bought. I always did that. When I made money in Vegas, we're buying stuff that we're going to have for a long time.
Why not?
Yeah. My brother kept saying, I'm going to make it rain when I get home. Because he was playing 2 hands. Because when a dude left, I cashed out. We had 1 extra chair. Yeah. No way we're letting some stranger take the spot. No. My brother Mike's like, I'm playing. It was crazy. You know what? The casino's doing just fine.
Just fine.
Yeah. So you got to let Steph Curry have his moment. You got to focus on process. Make him take, I wouldn't suggest giving him threes, but it's hard to keep him from that, especially.
They tried. It's hard.
Well, that's the beauty of the Cuisinart, right? Because you don't want to give up layups and dunks either. So you gotta have a steal resolve, focus on process, and know over time you're going to be fine. It's just like focusing on math.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine.
And I will say in that game, the Clippers did a good job of that. They didn't overreact to it. Because they've seen it a million times, right? They're like, it's going to happen.
Right.
Let's stick with our process. And again, despite that amazing game, 50 points on 20 of 28 and 8 of 14 from 3.
And they beat them.
They lost. The Warriors lost.
Right.
They turned the ball over a ton, and the Clippers got a ton of offensive rebounds. And we talked about this with the Warriors at the trade deadline. We're like, well, maybe they got to do something to get some size because, that's one way that you punish them, right? And it's been historically true, right? You kind of beat them on the boards. And that's what the Clippers did. In that game, the Clippers had 8 more field goal attempts than the Warriors did. Well, I mean, that's kind of the game. They won by 8, right? Like, just despite that Steph Curry performance. And I was thinking about this in terms of there's a moment where Curry was clearly hunting Zubac, right? All right. So Zubac dropped a little bit. You know what that means? 3. Okay, I'm going to get up to the level now. Well, now that means I'm going to go by you, right? You got to worry about somebody cutting, all that other stuff happening behind you. But one of the JJ and Redick and Richard Jefferson said, but if Zubac is punishing them on the other end and grabbing rebounds, and which he did, I think he had like 17 boards in that game, and he had a good night last night. That's how you can justify keeping him on the floor. If he's not doing that, he's getting cooked. Well, then you got to figure something else out. And I was thinking about your point about the defense taking whatever the game gives you. And you're like, that's what teams want to do in the playoffs, right? Force you to take somebody off the floor that you don't want to take off the floor. And you got to be like, what? I can't do that. So you have to be doing something on the other end to mitigate that situation.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And he's a good player.
Very good.
I think he's a good player. Just the general philosophy of take what they give, that's how the defense wins. No, you got to force some action, right? And the Clippers, they have a pulse.
Yeah, they do.
They have a pulse. The West is teetering, right? Denver's teetering. So if the Clippers ended up winning the West, I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if Dallas won the West. I'd be surprised unless Kevin Durant comes back super healthy.
Right.
Phoenix wins the West.
Right.
They're a real X-Fair. I don't think Minnesota's going to win the West.
Memphis is going to win the West.
I don't think Memphis is either, but I do think it's possible, but not likely. The Kings absolutely can just overwhelm you offensively.
Oh, my God, they can.
They're not a good defensive team, but you still have to stop them. I think they'll lose in 4 or 5 in the finals if any of those 3 teams are in there. But they don't care. If the Kings make the finals,
oh my God!
Have you ever seen the movie The Waterboy?
Yeah.
So there's a scene where they win the bowl game, and the defensive coordinator, the country guy, he's like twisting his nipples and like it's like in heaven. That would be Kings fans everywhere. They make the finals. They wouldn't even care how it ends up.
Right.
Yeah, it's David versus Goliath. It would be Villanova versus Georgetown was one game.
Yeah.
If that was a 7-game series, Georgetown
wins every time.
in 5 games. Yeah. But the one game is different. So in this series, they wouldn't win that. But I think the West is wide open because of it.
For sure. And for the Warriors, I mean, a game like that, and you could tell that stung for Curry because and you could see him on the bench 50 points and we lose.
They need Wiggins.
Well, this is the point we're going to get to, the Wiggins thing. Let's remember last year in the finals, Andrew Wiggins averaged almost 9 rebounds a game in the finals.
Exactly right.
He's so critical to them defensively because that's another defensive wing to stick on Paul George or Kawhi. Because listen, as good as Curry is, and all game having to deal with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, that's taxing, right? That is taxing.
They need big, long, athletic dudes in our sport. We have those, and he's the epitome of that for them.
Correct.
That's exactly what athletic wings look like.
And
he can shoot, and he can post up,
and he
gets involved in transition, and take bad shots.
Averaging 18 a game.
Teammate. Yeah. He's a great teammate.
Yeah.
I tell you how good of a teammate he is. Apparently, he's going through some stuff.
Well, so this is what I want to get to. Okay. He is going through some kind of family matter that is very serious. And his teammates have said what he's going through is real shit. And we understand whenever he's back, he's back. And this kind of started this whole debate about, well, why don't the Warriors say something? We need to know what's going on. Fans wanting to know what's happening. And I know you and I agree on this. You're not entitled to know shit about what's going on.
Exactly right.
If his teammates know, the coaches and the people who pay him, Lacob and Myers, etc., if they know and they're cool, that is fine. It's all who needs to know. Now, what Myers and Lacob could do is, and it will be Myers, not Lacob, he can come out and have a press conference and say, Andrew's going through personal things. We're not going to answer any questions about what that is, where he is, what's going on. There's nothing to do. We don't expect him back for the rest of the season. We're not saying he isn't. We just don't expect it. If he does come back, we'll welcome him with open arms, ready to rock and roll, whatever. I think level set the expectation of our plan is to move forward as though he's not here. We're supporting him, obviously, from afar, but on the court, he's not here. We're moving forward. Done. And then if he comes back, well, now it's, right, you level set. You set low expectations. Oh, but look, he came back. Well, now everybody's happy. But if you don't say anything, right, that's when speculation happens. Well, what's this? What's this? Then journalists have to ask questions. Marcus Thompson in The Athletic did a great story today about that, where he said you can tell that this is an organization that has Wiggins' back. Because
absolutely,
this is an organization that has leaked plenty of stuff. The Draymond Green-Jordan Poole fight got out. Andrew Wiggins' vaccine status last year got out. The behind the scenes about, we were wondering how severe is Kevin Durant's injury. That got out, right? Tons of stuff leak from Golden State all the time. But this isn't leaking, so that means they're rallying behind their guy, and it's nice to see an organization support their players.
I completely agree, and I think it says something about Andrew, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've tried to guess what it is he's going through. I don't know his family situation. Married, child. I don't know.
He has a child. I know for sure. At least one. I know he has one.
Is he married too?
I don't know if he's married or not.
Okay. I mean, the mother of a child will be the same whether he's married or not. Anyone that's health, illness, like game changers, right? Parents even, like you just don't know. My mind went there and I'm like, it's just such a dark place. I know people, luckily for me, I haven't had to go through that until my dad was very old. I'm just glad that his teammates aren't interested in the gossip. Like you do what you have to do, Andrew. We're doing our best, but they can't win without him. No. They just can't. Yeah. He may never be the player I always thought he could be. He won't be probably. Right. But that doesn't mean he's not really valuable.
He's very valuable.
Like, I thought Harrison Barnes was going to be a great player, Team USA player, not MVP, nothing like that. He did make Team USA. He's never been I'm not sure he's ever been an all-star game.
No, he hasn't.
He won a championship, was on the best team of all time regular season, and is a very important player for the Kings now. Andrew's kind of in a similar boat.
And yeah, they need him. But again, I love that the team is rallied around him. And again, fans, sorry, you're not entitled to know shit about what's going on with him.
No, hell no. Hell no.
You're just not.
I don't even want to know.
Right. Like
I don't want to know. I know it's painful and sad, and that's all.
None of your business, because all you care about is how it affects your basketball team. And again, to that end, Myers should come out and say, we don't expect him back. We're moving forward as if he's not here. If he does, yay, and we can't wait. But we're moving on, supporting him, all that stuff. And I think that is important, and that'll level set expectations for fans and what they need to know. All right, there was a game last night, Mavs versus Spurs. I think Luka and Kyrie did not play.
Right.
And the Spurs
Devin Vassell didn't play. Doug McDermott did play. Christian Wood did play.
Wood played.
Reggie
Bullock played.
Reggie Bullock did play, but Hardaway did not.
Okay.
And it was fantastic. The game was decided with 1.8 seconds left, Mavericks ball up 2. I can't blame Jason Kidd. They ran a play. Maxi Kleber, very experienced international player and NBA player, threw a terrible inbounds pass. Nobody touched it, which meant the Spurs get the ball back on the sideline. Because if Christian Wood touched it when it was going out of bounds on the other end of the court, the end of when the Mavericks were shooting, the Spurs had to go the length of the court unless they had a timeout. I don't know if they did or didn't. But he didn't touch it. So they got the ball. They ran a great play, and Kellen Johnson got a dunk at the buzzer. It's fascinating. Amazing. And then the Mavs won. But there was a bunch of really good young players playing in that game. It was an exciting game. And so the reason I wanted to talk about this is Shaq wouldn't know any of the guys that played except for a few of the role players. He would definitely have heard of Jaden Hardy, who played in the G League Night.
I'm not familiar with your game, is what he'd say.
Right. Dominic Barlow, overtime elite player, two-way player for the Spurs, who you could not take your eyes off him. Just energy everywhere, and scored, I think, 6 points and played great D. The game was fun. And we have so much talent. This is not the 80s and before, where you had your superstars and then just role players. There's so much more talent now. I like to see the NBA pivot away from just the best few players every position. And the way to do that is what you already alluded to. Have your announcers know who everybody is and treat them with respect. These guys are good players and can be great players. And you'll kiss their ass when they get to be the all-star. Well, how about give them some love now? Because the fans would enjoy it if they weren't so down that, I'm not going to see Luka play. Well, who cares?
Right.
It was a hell of a game to watch.
It's great basketball.
Amazing talent. Both teams shot well. I didn't look at the stats, but I'm telling you, the two teams combined for very good three-point shooting numbers. It was a great, fun, exciting basketball game. And people think, well, Luka and Kyrie didn't play, so what does it matter? Well, it mattered.
We say it all the time. The league has never been top to bottom as talented as it is right now. Not even close. I know. Everyone loves to be nostalgic about the 80s. Newsflash. David for sure remembers those games, as do I. Yeah. My first memory is the 85 NBA Finals, right? So I remember 80s basketball. Like, man, a bunch of those dudes playing, they couldn't play in today's NBA. It's just not. They just couldn't.
The example I used was one of my favorite all-time players, Kurt Rambis. Kurt Rambis was so important to that Laker team. No chance he makes it now.
Yeah,
couldn't score outside 3 inches. Can't defend outside 5 inches. Relied on the fact that they allowed you to foul the fuck out of people.
Right.
And they called it.
Right.
Those are goon fouls. Like you'd be out. Marcus Morris kind of pushed. Who did he push out of the way? Yes, Draymond, and got ejected.
He got tossed. Yeah.
And I'm glad. I don't care if he did or didn't, but you had to draw blood back in the day to get ejected, and even then you probably won't get ejected. Yeah, the game is just in a very different place now.
It's the talent is so amazing, and it's a problem when the league's number one broadcast partner Turner and Shaq and Chuck and Kenny do their funny shtick. And look, it's good for laughs, but this happened 2 years ago. I don't know if you remember this, David. Shaq said to Christian Wood when he was on the Houston Rockets, "Oh, I'm not familiar with your game," and Christian said, "Oh, so you're a casual then?" Right?
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah,
and
barely, but I remember it.
And that's the thing, right? It's like, look, I'm not expecting Shaq to know the 15th man on like the Detroit Pistons. Like, okay, fine, like I get that, but this idea of like I only know the people on the top, the top 2 players in each position, and come on, man, you got to be better than that, and you have to talk up the value and the greatness of the game. This is a game that you were a steward of.
We're trying to get fans to pay attention. We want more people to watch. And they should all be into that. Pop was asked pregame yesterday, what he thought of Jaden Hardy, and he's like, he said, don't accuse me of being glib, which he was. I've never seen the guy play before 1 second. And I thought, okay, that's a team obviously doesn't care about winning games.
Right.
Because I promise you, ask Ryan Pannone about Jaden Hardy.
He knows.
If that's his scout. He'll know everything. He'll know his last 5 games cold, as would Willie Green, because Ryan would have told him. So I thought that was a tell by the Spurs that your head coach isn't really locked in on the other team, because he's starting and playing a lot for the Mavs now.
And playing well, by the way.
He scored 20 plus. He was considered a lottery pick, and then the G League night thing didn't work out great. Mm-hmm. He's back to playing really well. But yeah, we need to get more guys excited about all the great players we have, and not just lock in on the 10 best or whatever.
Because look, at some point, guys, I know it's going to be sad, but LeBron, KD, Steph, they're not going to be here after a while, right? They're going to go away at some point, and then you're going to be like, who are we going to watch now? Like, plenty of guys.
There's a bunch.
Plenty.
Yeah. And it's not just in the NFL. It's not just about. I mean, I know when I used to go to games with my dad, which I had tried, I'd pay any price to do that again. I hated it. I got so sick of going to Bucks games, but
now you'd love to do it again.
I'd love to go with my dad, and I never stopped hugging him. But I remember when Joe Montana came one time with Cherry Rice, and then Steve Young came with Cherry. Sure. Those were like special games. It's really special. But you went there because it was your team, whatever. And it'd be nice if the announcer and in football Tony Romo doesn't do. I don't watch football. But I guarantee you, Tony Romo does not. He doesn't know who the players are. Of course, he's not doing studio shows.
Right.
But the studio guys aren't doing that either.
Right.
Yeah. We need. It's not cool to be casual that way.
Right.
And they're making it cool, and it bothers me.
Yeah.
No, be the nerd that knows who everyone is. I'm the nerd. Yeah. There was a period of time I could have named every starting line. I probably still can for barring injury. But that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm covering this league.
You got to be into it, man.
Yeah. I've listened to 8, 9 podcasts a week, separate from R2.
And you do too.
Yeah, and I do too. Right. I'm listening to I listened to Nate Duncan this morning with the guy from New York Post. Talking about TV
Andrew
ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I sent it to you guys, actually. That was really good. Yeah, I listened to Brian and Zach and whatever. So I just wish we would see that with these guys who are covering the league.
Yeah. Because
last night's game was as there are people who go to games just to go to games. Yeah. Right? Take your son, take your wife, take your girlfriend, whatever. Take your daughter, of course. Right. And you go to whoever went to San Antonio last night, they saw a hell of a game.
Overtime.
They were entertained with talent. Mm-hmm. That's why you do it.
Mm-hmm. No, it's that's the thing. I always say that, man. If you love it, it's not about was Luka there? No, then you love the game, right? That's what you're there for.
Right, exactly right. Live sports and live music are different. Mm-hmm. And I heard someone talk the other day. Andrew talked about this on the show with Nate. It's the last real drama left.
Yeah, it is.
Right. You don't watch I'm watching Boardwalk Empire. I know everyone's going to be murdered. It's Game of Thrones all over.
Right. Like at some point,
I'm looking at the execution, the smart, witty banter, the period piece. I'm enjoying that. But I know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
More or less, I know it's going to end. Every episode, generally speaking, same as every movie. Not in the NBA.
No, you don't know.
I'm telling you, Mark Cuban did not know how it was going to end last night when Keldon Johnson dunked at the buzzer. And the whole game, the Spurs were winning. It was very late. The Mavs made a run. Like that, there's something to be said for that. We should enhance it, embrace it, celebrate it, not demean it.
Absolutely. What season are you on Boardwalk Empire?
Just finished the season 2.
Okay, so
my brother has told me I have to watch it.
You're going to meet Jip Rossetti soon.
I knew Jimmy was going to get killed. I knew he wasn't in season 3, so I assumed he wasn't going to war. I figured he was going to be killed, and so that was good. But I'm enjoying. It's just good, right? HBO knows what they're doing.
There's some great characters. Jip Rossetti, played by Bobby Cannavale, is one of my favorite characters on that show. And he
comes in season 3.
Yep, and you'll meet Valentine Narcisse, who is played by Jeffrey Wright, another incredible actor.
Jeffrey Wright, who is in Westworld.
Yeah,
he's great.
Yeah, he's Valentine Narcisse. It's good stuff.
Have you seen all Westworld?
No, I've not seen all Westworld.
Avoid that. Season 1 is amazing. And then it gets a little crazy. The last season was okay too. 2 and 3 got really crazy. My wife and I was actually watching the final episode of whatever season it was in 2020. I was watching with my wife, waiting to see the Jazz play in March of 2020, and I had the volume off.
And that was
I'm going to watch the game. Chrissy's going to watch the last episode of Westworld,
right?
But I'm watching both a little bit, and the game's not coming on. And it's 20 minutes in.
Right.
I said to my wife, we're in my office, not in the main house, because the kids are in the main house. I said, honey, something's going on here.
Yeah.
And I put on the volume, and that's when all the whole it just happened.
Yeah.
Like almost 3 years ago this week.
It was wild. I remember because, we'd been hearing about COVID and we talked about it on the show a little bit. Yeah. But I remember because we were going to dinner and we actually had ended up canceling our trip that week. We were going to go somewhere. We're like, we're just kind of not sure about this. But I was still kind of like, all right, not fully like. And I'm like, wait, they canceled an oh, no, this is. Then I was like, this is really serious now.
Well, and I had a player on the team. I texted him. I texted the player in that game. It was OKC versus Utah. Yeah. And I wrote to him like, what the fuck is going on? And the guy said, Rudy tested positive. Things are crazy right now. Yeah, it was a wild. But Westworld makes you sick to your stomach anyway. And so I'm watching the last episode of the season. It was already a confusing season. This thing's going on. It really didn't. The whole thing
it didn't sit well.
Bad clam. It took me a while to have to put Westworld back on again.
Oh,
but yeah, that was a wild. Yeah, what a wild night. Anyway, moving on back to our show.
Moving on. Ja Morant sat down with Jalen Rose on Wednesday. First time since all the incidents happened, and he was at a counseling facility in Florida, and he said a variety of things in that interview. David, look, to me, as someone who's worked in PR and knows that side of the business, all those answers to me sounded like they were scripted and rehearsed from someone writing them down for him. And I'm not saying he's not genuine. I'm not saying he doesn't want to take accountability, but it's something that you said before. He can say whatever. The actions now going forward will dictate whether or not he's learned anything, whether or not he's going to be a better person going forward. He's only 23 years old, and you always say, you're allowed to grow up. Yep. He is allowed to grow up and as a human being, forget about the Grizzlies and basketball. As a human, I want him to be the best version of himself because, this is a kid that has the chance to really have generational impact with what he does on the floor and what the earning potential could do for not just his family, but the communities that he supports. So it's going to be wait and see. And unfortunately, because of those incidents now, right, everything he does now is going to be under a microscope. Every single thing. And, this is the life now.
Yeah, I'll just say a couple of quick things. I did not even look at his statements. And I'm really glad you reminded me why. Because in my mind, I don't care. Like, I'll see how he does. I don't care what he says. Right? I mean, he doesn't have to apologize anything more than he has. It's someone's in charge of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Someone's worried about his image. I'm not a sucker.
Right.
Like, I'll believe it when I see it. And I believe it. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he won't do it. Right. I'm not a doubter.
Right.
But I'm going to wait because the words don't mean anything. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even look at those kind of things. He has a chance to be, a billionaire. Like, this guy is going to be worth so much money. And LeBron used to get criticized so badly for the decision. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't even say rightfully so. It didn't bother me one bit. I didn't love some of the things he did. He also donates the money from the whole thing. He hasn't really fucked up since. I'm not saying he picked a great team to always go to all of that, but he's been pretty much a model citizen in every way. He's become a billionaire.
If the decision is LeBron's biggest slip up in his career,
the greatest story of all time,
because that's not even a slip up because he said he wanted to go work somewhere else. Like,
right, whatever. Yeah, on TV, whatever. Right. They were young men trying to figure it out that never done anything like this before. Pioneers sometimes step in it,
Sure, it happens.
He didn't do anything wrong. I hope, people can grow up and change. I hope that Ja learns from this. I've heard lots of different things. I don't know what the truth is. I don't care if he comes back this year or not. I want him coming back here next year, healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally strong, and have an amazing year and make career and make, as much money as he can.
Well, so the league said there'll be an 8-game suspension, and it's retroactive from the time he left the team. Yeah. So I think Monday is when he'll be back, because when you're suspended, as you know, you're not allowed in the facility. So it's going to be a ramp up. So it's not like, he comes back and he plays right away. He's got to get himself back into condition and ramp up. So I imagine
if he's ready. The suspension doesn't mean he'll come back.
Right.
It just means he can when it's over.
So if everything's fine, he's going to come back and play. It's going to be sometime next week. End of next week, I imagine. But we'll wait and see. And as we said, we're gonna watch and see what happens here. All right, you mentioned NCAA tournament. Let's quickly talk about scouting for NBA players and just this idea. This happens every March. Someone's gonna have some amazing tournament. Probably Brandon Miller from Alabama, though he's already been talked about as like someone we said should be the number 2 pick.
A lot of people are saying that now. Now he's in the running for number 2. I said in my tweet, let me know the first time someone talked. But then Hollinger wrote about it.
Yep.
Rafael Barlow apparently has been writing about it. And I read Rafael. I just missed it. I love Rafael. So yeah, I think he's going to go number 2. Yeah.
And someone's going to talk themselves into some players going to have a big game against like one of those blue blood programs that's going to, oh my God, this guy's great. But as someone who does player development and someone who helps players get ready for the draft and the company and all that, patience is key, right? And coaching, coach these kids up because we don't know what they could potentially blossom into.
Yeah, there's so many ways to go. I'll be brief about this one though. The Kings took Davion Mitchell, number 8, I believe, maybe number 9.
8 or 9. Yeah.
I gave you the link. Look it up because I'm gonna have you read. I'm gonna have you read. Who else they could have had? Read the next like 10 names as they took him at number 9.
So yeah, they took him at number 9. So right
who,
after
who went number 8?
Franz Wagner was taken before him.
Good, very good player, right? Okay, go on.
So after him was Zaire Williams, James Bouknight, Josh Primo, Chris Duarte, Moses Moody, Corey Crispert, Sengun, Trey Murphy, Trey Mann, Kai Jones, Jalen Johnson, Keon Johnson, Isaiah Jackson, Josh Christopher, Quentin Grimes, Cam Thomas, Jaden Springer, Day'Ron Sharp, Santi Aldama.
Okay. The defense rests, right? The just because he won the national championship, it has not worked out well for Mitchell. He's actually I think he's regressed a little bit this year, and despite the Kings, rising so well. I like Zaire Williams. He's regressed. Sengun would be great, but he already has Sabonis, although he'd be great as a backup to Sabonis. They play similarly, That wouldn't be good for Sengun, though. Yeah. Trey Murphy would have been good. I like
Trey Murphy a lot.
Yeah, I like Trey Murphy a lot too. And that probably would have been a better fit. And you got to trade down to get him. So the point is this. Just because they do great in a tournament doesn't mean they're going to be great NBA players. We should be patient. Jabari Smith was, I thought, the best prospect last year. He's not going to be Rookie of the Year. He's trending in the right direction right now. He's 19, 20 years old, whatever he is. We just need to be patient with our guys and maybe not demean them the way Shaq and those guys do.
Right.
Breathe spirit in them, give them a lot of royal jelly, give them time to figure it out. De'Aaron Fox is having a breakout year. He's 20-5. Like, it takes a while sometimes. The Kings are not going to apologize at all for what they've gone through when they now have him going forward the way they do. So enjoy the NCAA tournament for what it is. Don't think for 1 second these guys come in and change the league next year. Right. They won't.
Yeah, no, it's very rare that a rookie comes in right and does that in this league. Yeah. It's too good. Yeah, too hard to do that. All right, our favorite time of the show on Thursdays, top 5. We probably have the same 5 teams.
I don't know.
All right.
like the Cavs better than me.
All right.
I like the Cavs plenty. So my number 5, because I have to look at both long term and short term. I still can't forget what the Nuggets have done. They're leading the West. They have, in my opinion, the game's best player. I've got Denver at 5.
All right. So as you know, I always cheat. So Nuggets/Cavs at the 5 line because I can't look that number 1 adjusted net rating. I can't quit it. Look, I don't think they're going to win a title.
I know it.
They're good. All right.
It's amazing. 14? Yeah. They were number 6 for me. 5 last week, 6 this week. Number 4, I've got the Celtics.
Same.
All right. So now this is for the first time ever for me. The Sacramento Kings.
Same here. Kings are 3rd.
They are deserving of it. They're just great, offensively especially.
They're great.
And then Sixers
Bucks. Yep. Those are the best teams right now.
Really. So we got 3 East, 2 West. That sounds about right to me. I only think 3 of those teams can win a championship based on if the season ended today and no one got hurt. The 3 teams in the East are the championship caliber teams, in my opinion.
You did not quit on the Clippers or the 76ers, and I texted you and I said, I like them. I'm not as into them as you are, but I see why you can't quit them. I watched them both the last week or so up close, and I'm like, damn, I see why you like them so much. Like,
yeah,
Kawhi, Paul George, really good. It's hard to stop. Yeah. And then Embiid and Harden and Maxey, like, what are you
gonna do? I like some of the late Clippers role players. I like their depth. I like Ty Lue. And, and Embiid, Harden is a genius, the coach on the floor.
So good.
He's a coach on the floor. They have so much talent.
Maxey Niang can shoot. Like, they're just
they're so deep.
They're good, man.
Melton doesn't have to score. He didn't score last night to win.
Tucker is like, get an extra rebound here. Like,
just a strong guy. Yeah, you don't need him to do much. And so, the 3-team East, like whoever gets that 1 spot is so
lucky. Woo, because that 3rd spot. Ugh.
Yeah, that semifinal is a monster. Those are two championship level contenders.
I mean, it's gonna be a rock fight. Literally gonna be a rock fight, and then whoever limps out of that. I mean, that's the thing. They may be so battered, David, in the Eastern Conference that by the time they get to the finals, maybe the West team's a little healthier.
You run out of gas. That's why to your point, you said this an hour ago very smartly. That first seed gets the benefit of playing a bad team.
Yeah. Listen,
it really will help.
And Bucks are only 2.5 up, so it's not inconceivable that they
not at all.
They stay there.
Yeah, not at all.
So
right.
We shall see. All right, guys, enjoy watching the NBA this weekend. We will see you next week. Take care.